with no due respect, brought to you from Great Concept Studios. Think about it. Sisi! Guys, and welcome to episode 2 of With No Due Respect. I'm your host, Coconut Kelz, and today we have a guest that's been trending for all the wrong reasons. Pastor Nigel Branken, who recently called the DA the most racist party, which, lol, what? No. So we'll get through that, but anyway, I brought him in for peace talks. I'm here to forgive you on camera and find out when you moved over to the dark side and why. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a lukewarm welcome to Nigel Branken. Pastor, welcome. Amen. Firstly, how dare you? Anyway, so you've said you're an anti-racism professor, which sounds like a made-up job. But you also said the DA is the most racist party full of white supremacy. I've worked there for many, many years and I've never seen any racism. So where is this alleged racism?
Sure, I don't even know how to begin. It's very difficult. It's not fair, is it? I think for me, there's just so many things that it's just reflected in. We look at its leadership. Predominantly white leadership. We look at its
guilty
at so many of the statements that they've made, the policies that they've followed. We look at how they've governed in Cape Town, particularly for white people, for people in the suburbs, and it's everywhere. So from your favorite person's comments on colonialism, to her comments on economic refugees, to her comments on there's more race laws than during apartheid. I mean, how bizarre is that?
I mean, do you not think that maybe people are just too sensitive and not ready for strong white leadership?
I really don't even know how to respond to you, to be honest. I feel like this is cognitive dissonance inside of me. I'm a child of 1994. Mm-hmm. And I finished university in 1993. And I remember the dream I had. I came out, I have to be honest, Nelson Mandela back then was the ultimate hero for me. Yeah. And I was hoping that constitution, the dream that was set up, the Fees Must Fall students kind of disrupted that a bit for me. And I started to realize, there were some flaws in our constitutional arrangements. But when you continue to look at the reality of where people are at in South Africa, so you see stuff around, there was an article this week in, I think, the Sunday Times, Julian Schutter's article, where she talked about white people earning 300 and something % more.
Because we're hardworking.
It's definitely because you're hardworking. That's right. It's because we're hardworking. It's funny because, as soon as you, the idea to conform to that system produces. The system is designed to give advantage to people of lighter skin tones of European origin. And that's what the apartheid system was from the 1600s. It built up. Land was taken away. The whole economy was designed. If I think of my school education, I think my schooling was subsidized at I think 4-to-1 rates of black children in the same year as me. I got into university very easily, even though I had a C average. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit, I'm not quite as bright as some of the other white people are. Maybe that's why I don't get it. But actually, to be honest, the reason I've betrayed my roots is because I dream of a different world. I dream of a world where we really are equal. We're not going to be equal through ignoring what race has done to South Africa. We've got to address that stuff. So the whole DA's colorblind ideology, what that does is it just puts it under the carpet.
Very nice carpet.
This pink carpet here, puts it under the carpet, leaves it there, and says, let's just continue to trample on the lives of people. So we continue to see across South Africa, what should be a national disaster. The levels of poverty, the levels of inequality that we see in South Africa are a direct result, it's a fruit of that poisonous tree that we haven't dealt with properly.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking about my holiday, so I didn't hear anything. Now, I heard the great white visionary Martina Steyn is somehow your grandfather, and may his soul. So now you do understand strong white leadership, like I said. So what made you rebel? Because you've spoken a little bit about you rebelled and why. But I just want to go deeper into it because aren't your forefathers ashamed of you? I know I am.
I think that I mean, it's interesting when I look at my ancestry. So I come from this ancestry where I've got in my roots Martina Steyn, who was the founder of the National Party, and also started the Afrikaner Broederbond. I've got Paul Kruger in my roots. I've got another Boer President Steyn in my roots. So lucky, do you think? It all goes to the kind of world we want to build, you know. Do we want a world where might is right, where power, where who's got the most can just accumulate and oppress, and certain people just become subservient to others? That's not what South Africa is meant to be. South Africa is meant to be a country where we can be equal in a real sense, not equal in terms of the Constitution says you and I have got the same rights, but equal in terms of in terms of substantive material equality. So the right to go to schools that we have got the opportunities to go to the same kinds of schools, that we've got access to healthcare, that we've got access to dignified housing, that when we go to the bathroom, one of us doesn't have to kind of make that horrible trek through the night to the outside toilet where you risk getting raped and everything else. We need to have substantive equality, and that means justice. Justice means that there needs to be restitution. There needs to be some sort of way of putting the wrong right for what's happened in the past. And unfortunately, I mean, as much as Nelson Mandela was my hero and is one of the people I really respect, there were some compromises in 1994 that has left a deep divide in South Africa, that has left structural injustice in place. And that's what we've got to work towards. And we've got to work to dismantling. When we dismantle that structural injustice, you don't agree. When we dismantle that structural injustice stuff, we can literally begin to rebuild the country. Everybody is valued, where you don't have to pretend to be white to fit in. It was that bad.
It feels personal.
Where our identities to each other, the way we relate to each other through huge barriers, and those barriers have been constructed over centuries, and we've got to look at how do we deconstruct those things. And that means for me as a white person, I've got to think of all the cognitive stuff that I grew up with and how I debunk that stuff.
Yeah, I totally understand. But I did hear, although you keep saying I'm a white person, I heard there's blacks in your sort of ancestry. So let's unpack that. What does it mean about how we see race today? And also, my condolences, because black is whack.
It's interesting when you hear you saying that. I mean, it's really confronting, you know, because
I'm tan.
Because you have got a darker skin tone.
I've been in Italy for the summer, so.
Is it? So, but for me, yes, my first ancestor in South Africa was a woman by the name of Maria van Angeli or van Angola. So she was caught on a slave ship off the west coast of Africa in about 1655. And she was captured by a slave ship called the Amersfoort that was coming from the Netherlands. And they brought her down and they sold her into slavery to Jan van Riebeeck. So she was one of Jan van Riebeeck's slaves.
He is the moment.
So this is very disrupting. I don't even know how to cope with you, my friend. So anyway, so she was one of Jan van Riebeeck's slaves, and she had a daughter by the name of Maria. And even the way where her name came from, she was probably named by the slave traders, etc. And the next Maria that came in our line was Maria van Lotsia, was from the slave lodge. She was, if you go to the slave lodge in Cape Town, you'll see her records there. And she was 15 when a gentleman by the name, I don't know if you can call him a gentleman, but he was a man by the name of Oda Steyn, came from the Netherlands. He was a stonemason and a slave trader, and he had a child with her when she was 15. Oda Steyn was 55 years old. So my ancestor is now this Oda Steyn and Maria from the Stave Lodge. And you go down, and in my family tree is the founder of Johannesburg, Paul Kruger, and the president.
So are you saying the founders of apartheid are black?
So this is the thing. So we have in our DNA a little bit of mixing here, and that goes to the point is that race is not a biological construct. Race is a social.
Exactly. I need you to say that again because people keep saying to me like, "Kelz, you're black," and I'm like, no.
So race is not a biological construct. Yeah. It's a socio-political construct and an economic construct. It was created to give people of lighter skin tones, of European origin, advantage, economically, politically, socially, and power. And so that construct continues to exist in the Democratic Alliance. And so we see that construct manifest there. They keep saying, oh, we couldn't find any other leaders, and yet all their leaders are white. I'm so glad you're nodding to acknowledge that, because that literally...
No, sorry, I wasn't listening. I'm just nodding because I'm planning a birthday party and I'm going through the guest list. I'm back.
Okay, so that's where the white supremacy is in the DA. It's this literally, you don't, I mean, they say they don't see color. I mean, how can you not see color?
To be fair, we've all, we play the jazz piano and we have guide dogs. We really don't see color. We're all colorblind. It's a fact.
Yeah.
They take away our retina when we enter the party.
So colorblindness is weaponized to maintain the structure in society. So again, it just goes to what kind of society do we want? If we're going to deconstruct this thing, my understanding is that one day I want my children to be colorblind and us not to see race one day. But until then, we've got to deconstruct this thing. And to deconstruct this thing means we've got to do justice, redistributive justice, restorative justice. We've got to rebuild society on a new kind of foundation. And that means white privilege must break down. And so to betray whiteness is something that every single white person watching should do. To betray whiteness, to stand up in a DA meeting. I mean, I don't know if you saw that DA meeting. Most of the people there were old white people shouting at me saying, we can't acknowledge that there's a genocide. I mean, that's bizarre. That or two about genocide. If she knows a thing or two about genocide, then genocide should matter to her. And she should call out genocide. Because the only way we stop a genocide, the only way we would have stopped the genocide, the Holocaust, is if other people stood up. It's when all of us stand up and we stand up for justice. And that's why I, as a white person, have to stand up for what's really happening in terms of racial inequality, in terms of homophobia, in terms of xenophobia, in terms of patriarchy. We've got to break those systems down in order to have a just world.
Okay, so you brought it up now, and I might as well because I've been trying to ignore the camel in the room. Yeah. But Houghton Golf Club is not here to help me with this political regalia. So you've used the word, sorry, let me see if I can pronounce
genocide.
it. I can't. So you use that word, and it's a big word. But that's your opinion. So why do you think it's facts? And what are we supposed to do about it? We're in South Africa. Hello?
So, yeah, in South Africa, we don't have a white genocide. Let's just be honest about that too.
We do.
We'll go on to that.
The 3 victims of the genocide.
The 3 victims, exactly. So just to talk in South Africa, some of the stats, in the murder stats, we've got literally around 26,000 murders a year, 27,000 murders a year. And of that, we have roughly 63 farm murders, and that's farmers. And farmers, in the definition of farm murders, are
white.
No, not white. Some of them are white. But the definition of farm murders are people living or working on farms. So, and owners of farms. So it's anybody who visits a farm, anybody who works on a farm, anybody who owns a farm, that whole population. Out of that whole population, which probably is in the region of 20 million people, we're talking about a definition of 60, 70 people who get murdered out of that. So when you extrapolate the rates accurately,
one white person is one white person too many.
Yeah, that's where white supremacy. That's the root of white supremacy, isn't it? Because we're basically saying white lives matter more than black lives matter.
I actually have t-shirts. Go to my page, www.whitelivesmatter.com.
Okay.
Back to you.
So, and then coming to the genocide in Gaza, there's a lot of, obviously in my talking to Helen Ziller, I only had a very limited time to speak. But let's talk about what the International Court of Justice ruled. The International Court of Justice found, and I said in my speech to Helen Ziller, that there was a plausible case of genocide. Essentially what that means is they found that the Palestinians had a right, the actual wordings, they had a right to be protected from genocide. And they made that decision based on the evidence that they had. Subsequent to that, the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant. In addition to that, all of the UN special rapporteurs have issued statements saying that there's a genocide in Gaza. In addition to that, our own Judge Navi Pillay, who was appointed by the Human Rights Council and the Commission of Inquiry into the occupied territories, they found that there's a genocide. So now the UN has actually found it in their expert reports. And in addition to that, every single human rights international body, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, but they've all said there's a genocide. Then we go to the international scholars. The International Association of Genocide Scholars has found there's a genocide. Organizations in Israel have said that there's a genocide. Organizations in Palestine have said there's a genocide. And I went to go visit probably 20 families from the first plane before the second plane arrived. And I listened to the stories. There were little children there, with a little 3-year-old boy, that he has broken his arm 3 times since he's been in South Africa. At first we thought I'm a social worker, I thought it might be child abuse. But when the doctors investigated, he's got rickets because of malnutrition. I spoke to a medical doctor who was from UNRWA, was working at one of the UNRWA clinics. He was telling me, he had lost 37 kilograms of weight. Thin. He was a bodybuilder. He looked a bit like the Michelin Man before. Afterwards, thin. When I just felt his skin when I hugged him. So many of the people, I've seen this forced starvation in them. And then I've heard the stories of people who've been killed, family members who've been killed. Just this last week, we had another family member of one of the families from the second plane was killed in Gaza from bombing. It's continuing. It's a continuing genocide. And that's why it's time. It's time the DA admits it's a genocide. Not because the DA admitting it's a genocide is going to change very much. But what it is going to do is it's going to give more credibility to the South African government in their case, in the media, when everybody in South Africa begins to recognize that this is in fact what it is. It gives moral credibility to it. But there's lots of things that the DA can do. We can support the prosecution of all the soldiers serving in the IDF. We've got these young people who went to King David's school and then they went off and they served in the IDF and they're committing war crimes. We've got an act that says that you can't serve in a foreign military without getting permission from the South African government. So when they come back, they must be prosecuted. We can support sanctions. So there's a whole boycott, divestment and sanction campaign. People can go to the websites, sabds.com, and you can go and have a look at all the products that you can boycott. I'm so glad you don't have Coke. Obviously, you're involved in the boycott, or not.
Well, I'm just boycotting being fat.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Coke and McDonald's will stop.
Yeah. It's just a personal one. But thank you so much. We will take that into consideration and see what we can do. Anyway, we're going to take an ad break. And when we come back, we'll still learn nothing. See you soon. Welcome back to the second half of my very, very long forgiveness with Nigel Branken. We're here in studio and we've been speaking quite a lot. I think he's almost convinced of my side. I'm not sure, I'm very persuasive, but let's see how we can grow.
Very persuasive.
Thank you so much, Nige. They have to clap or they're fired. So you spoke, about expecting the DA to take very strong positions, but is that okay to expect of a political party?
I feel like I've just had that face that Helen Ziller had in the interview when you mentioned black people last week. Is it okay to expect political parties to take strong positions?
We just want to march.
Isn't it even?
We put the party in party, and now it's like we have to be political. Since when?
Politics is the organizing of how we control our resources, how we control our government, how we control the state, in order to bring about a different kind of society. If we don't take strong positions for justice, positions to advance the rights of everybody, then we're just going to continue to put the stuff under the carpet. And we've got to stop putting stuff under the carpet. It's time.
You love speaking about carpets. Are you a carpet salesman?
Yes, I sell pink carpets.
Okay. Guys, go to Nigel's website. Apparently he sells carpets.
www.carpet.com.
Now listen, you speak about Kelz a lot and you called her spineless. But FYI, my dad's a chiropractor, so think about it. Anyway, I feel like we oversimplify apartheid. Like, yes, it was bad, but there was also a lot of good that came out of it. Or is that illegal to say now? Because I'm what?
Sheepish, how do you even respond to this person? You're very difficult to talk to, honestly. Oh my goodness gracious. I was having this discussion with one of my son's friends just the other day, and he's grown up in a very broken home and has these kinds of views, you know.
Is he single?
Is he single? I'm so disrupted here. I didn't even know what to say. So the reality is, if we start to look back at South Africa's history and we imagine where we could have been if we hadn't had this intentional destruction of our human resources, our economy, the intentional oppression, the setting aside of a whole race, the predominant population of South Africans, the vast majority of South Africans, just exploiting them. I'm sorry this is boring you, but it really is, like, it's a massive crisis, you know, and yeah, apartheid was hectic, and we need to, I don't even know how to answer that question. I feel like I feel like this is a question we should have, I thought everybody had dealt with. And the truth is, you are right. A lot of white people think that there were good things to have come out of apartheid. And when you go and you continue to look at the lived experiences of the vast majority of South Africans, so you go into township spaces,
no,
and you go and visit them, and you go into spaces of these informal settlements, and you spend time with people in those spaces, and you see shortened life expectancies. And I mean, Cape Town is where the spatial apartheid continues to have its living reality in lived experiences. We've got to address that. We've got to get to a place where every human being is counted with value and worth and dignity.
I mean, okay, like I was a baby in apartheid. I never even met Hector Peterson, and now it's like 1976 is my fault. So like, why do we keep getting blamed, and what are we supposed to do? Like, sorry. Can we get over it now?
Yeah, so I don't think that there's guilt I need to feel. I don't think I feel guilty for apartheid. I do feel responsible for creating a new world, because I don't want my kids to continue to live in what we've currently got. I want a new world, and I'm fighting for it with everything that I've got. I'll even go to a DA meeting and speak to Auntie Helen to stop it.
We won't.
But it's not about it's not about guilt. It's not about feeling bad. It's just about taking responsibility for the kind of world we want, and that means that we've got to tear down whiteness. We've got to tear down, and by whiteness, we're not saying white people. Whiteness is the construct where I think what your persona is pretty much demonstrating. I don't know if that's okay for me to say that, but the microaggressions, the internalized racism, the saying we don't see color, the intentional blindness to the unjust society that we live in, that's whiteness. And
oh my God, he called me white.
Thank you. But the intentional blindness to that is what we need to have fall in every way. I intentionally look at how I can shop local. I look at how I can support black businesses. Those are just actions I can take. I don't have to wait for government to do anything. I can intentionally get involved in supporting people with education, not as a savior or anything like that, but just as a person who dreams of a different world. I'm going to work around me to create a world of hope. And that I want that world to look different around me. And I can just start with my resources, which are very limited, unfortunately, as a social worker and pastor and activist who's not subscribing into the white world. Because when you plant yourself in the white world, you can get advancement a lot easier. Yeah. And having said that, even though I've committed class suicide probably 2-3 times in my life. Every time I've committed class suicide, where I've given away everything that I've got, and we've moved into neighborhoods where we've stood in solidarity with people who are incredibly marginalized. Even when I've done that, money, wealth continues to come, opportunities continue to come. Whiteness just seems to have this way of advantaging you. Yeah.
To whiteness. Okay, so to everybody else, I think let's move on because it's 2026 and we should get over it already. But also, Dol, please don't forget to contribute to the World War I Foundation. Hashtag never forget. But yes, apartheid, move on. Dr. Nigel, Dr. Pastor Reverend Father Nigel.
I'm not a doctor, and you could just call me Nigel.
Oh, Nigel, thank you so much. I think we've reached a bridge here, and I can't wait to see you at the next DA meeting, hopefully a little bit more toned down because we have security now. But anyway, thank you so much, and join us again next time for another wonderful episode where I convert my guests. See you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness gracious, what did I just do? I'm just...